Good afternoon. Recording started. And thank you all for joining us today. My name is Beatrice Mazzi, and I am the project manager of Casa Muraro, that is the research center for Venetian studies of Columbia University in Venice. And I'm the new director of the summer program. As you can infer from my accent, I'm Italian, and I'm actually in Venice right now, where it's 6 p.m. and where I hope to welcome many of you in a few months. Today, we'll present you the program to give you a bit an idea of what happens in these 6 weeks in Venice, the kind of courses and academic experience that we offer, and also all the cultural activities and daily life here during the summer program. This is a kind of very well-established program. It's the 16 or 15 year that we run the program. I've been working in Venice with Columbia for 6 sessions now. So this is going to be my 6th time in different roles as Italian instructors, program coordinator, and now with this new role as a program director. And I was preceded by an incredible genealogy of great directors that really shaped a very, very exceptional program. So I'm very enthusiastic of presenting this opportunity to all of you. The program is organized from the Art History and Archaeology Department and the Italian Department at Columbia, of course. It's 6 weeks long, and this year will run from July 5th until July the 19th. Is all in location here in Venice, in person. And we are extremely lucky to have a home away from home here, that is Casa Muraro. Casa Muraro is this red building that you see on the right picture. And it is the Center for Venetian Studies that Columbia University has recently renovated. And for the past 3 editions of the summer course, we have hosted all our classes, cultural activities, also social gatherings here at Casa Muraro. So we'll be your Columbia campus in Italy. It is in an extremely convenient position. It is like really in the center of the city. As you can see, just a couple of steps from the main communication route of Venice, that is the Grand Canal. Very easy to reach from all the different neighborhoods of Venice, and so it will be very easy for you also during your time here to come to class, go back home, and switch between different classes and activities. Although it's summer and we are abroad, this is still a Columbia program. So it is a very high caliber Columbia program that offers classes that you cannot find on campus, but that are focused and tailored for your experience in Venice. They're mainly taught by Columbia professors, with just a couple of local instructors that were also trained at Columbia and that were previous Columbia professors and graduate students as well. Although these courses are not offered in New York, they're all fully transferable to your Columbia and Barnard transcript, and they all are eligible to fulfill the major requirements and other kinds of requirements that you might need. We take advantage of the fact that we are in Venice to enrich your learning experiences. So lots of the courses, actually all of the courses, exploit all the possibilities of experiential learning. So you'll have lots of field trips and on-site classes. We used to say that Venice is going to be your classroom, and you'll have to be ready to walk a bit every day, to take notes standing or sitting on the Grand Canal, but you'll have the unique opportunities to really have a first-hand experience of what you study and what you read, and to visit all the hidden gems and main sites of the city, and not only of Venice, because each class or the majority of classes include side trips and field trips to other major cities around Venice, such as Padova or Vicenza, for example, Trieste. And also for those of you that do not take a course that is specifically focused on art and Venice, we will create opportunities for all the students to explore the main museums and the main neighborhoods with guided tours and our social activities. We'll also include guest lectures and conferences that are open, of course, to all of you, but also to our partner in Venice and to other scholars that are traveling during the summer. Those are the courses that we offer for this session. We have 2 courses in art history, contemporary art and architecture at the Venice Biennale, taught by Professor Alberro, art in Venice, taught by Professor Fassel. Then we have a course music, opera in Venice, and the Mediterranean Humanities 2, that is a global core class taught by Professor Zanu. And in addition to those, we offer intensive Italian language courses. Professor Alberto and Professor Gerbino were extremely kind to join today, so I will let them present their own classes so that you can get a better idea of the kind of academic experience that we offer. Maybe Professor Alberto, you want to go ahead?
Sure. Hi. Thank you. Hi, everybody. I've taught in this program numerous times now, and they've all been really a great pleasure for me. And I think I can say that all the students seem to have enjoyed it extremely well as too. Anyway, the seminar I'm teaching focuses on the Biennale, the Venice Biennale. It's an exhibition format that was put into place in 1895. And it continues to this day. There are art biennales, there are architectural biennales. The two have tended to blend into each other in the last couple of decades, where a lot of the art in the art biennales carries over into the architectural biennale and vice versa. This coming year is an architectural biennale, but there'll be a lot of contemporary art featured. My area of expertise is contemporary art. But that includes architecture as well. So the course that the seminar that I'll be teaching is structured in 3 parts. The first part will look at the Venice Biennale as a phenomenon. It's the first of its kind, the first Biennale of its kind. I should let you know that there were only 6 of those type of exhibitions, Biennale exhibitions, near the end of the 20th century. And today in the 21st century, there are almost 300. So it's an exploding format, and it's the exhibition format of our day. So the Venice Biennale is the first of those exhibitions. The first part of the course will study the Venice Biennale and its formations and why it was formed. The second part of the course will study biennales in general. This is that proliferation of biennales that I just talked to you about, and the particular kind of art and architecture design that these biennales tend to feature and tend to promote, and hence tend to produce into the future. And then the third part of the course will focus on this particular iteration of the Venice Biennale, as well as a lot of the exhibitions that are on display in Venice for the 6 weeks of the course. The course will go out into the field quite regularly, visiting not just the various venues of the Biennale, but also a lot of venues around the city that are related to the Biennale exhibition. So a big chunk of the course will be in the city of Venice. But there'll also be a seminar component that will be important so that we can all read and share a certain amount of information and terminology and concepts, and then try them out in the field. I'm happy to take any questions at the end of this presentation, but that's all I have to say for now.
Thank you very much. Professor Gerbino, do you want to talk about the opera in Venice? Should I share your slides?
Sure, or I can do it if you want. It's up to you if you want to. If you can share the
Oh, no,
file. Let me
go
see. Let me
ahead.
try. Let me see. No, I think you should do it actually because I can already see
Okay.
there may be a problem.
Okay, while we do that, I just wanted to add that all these courses are 3 credits classes, with the exception of Italian, that is 4 credits. Can you see the slides?
Yes. You should actually go into presentation mode.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the screen is too small.
Slides. Okay.
Beautiful. Thank you. So welcome everybody, and my name is Giuseppe Gerbino. I have been teaching this class for a few years actually now, and it's always a great pleasure to go back to Venice to teach. The truth is, I actually go to Venice every year pretty much, whether or not I teach for the summer program, both for my own research and also because it's a great place to be, I have to say. So I usually offer this, course called Opera in Venice. And I can show you actually a brief description of the course so you get an idea of what we'll be covering. If we can have the next slide. There you go. So here you have a brief description, and as you can see, 5 centuries should be plural of opera in Venice, in which, I don't know if you know this, but Venice is actually a particularly important city to study opera because opera, the way we know it today, as a commercial enterprise, which is to say you go to a theater, you buy tickets, and you see this extravagant type of spectacle that combines music, language, and the visual, is actually Venetian creation. The first opera house was built in Venice in 1637, and it was the so-called San Cassiano Theater. Now, the Republic of Venice came to an end in 1797. So from a chronological point of view, the bulk of our work will cover that period, which is to say the opening of the first opera house in the world, 1637 in Venice, and the very end of the Venetian Republic, 1797, when the city fell under the control of Napoleon and the French army. And as you can see, we will take a look at the crucial relationship between opera, its development as the premier type of theater in Europe at that time, and the city itself. Social practices, the cultural meaning, vocal techniques, production systems, the star system, and so this intimate relationship between the city and its musical life embodied in opera. And again, as I mentioned, is a particularly close relationship to the point that even back at that time, Venice became a tourist destination, in part because of its musical and theatrical life during the carnival season. Of course, we won't be in our classroom all the time. Quite the contrary, the course is designed to take advantage of the resources of the city. And in our case, in the case of this specific course, they will include performances, but also museum visits. But we will go to the La Fenice Theater. And if we can have our next slide, actually. So this is Teatro La Fenice. We will be able to see an opera by a 20th century French composer called Francis Poulenc, very important. The opera is called the Dialogue of the Carmelites. So the opera itself actually is not, the subject matter is not Venice as such. On the other hand, it's an unusual opera, from the 20th century that deals with the French Revolution. And that will give us an opportunity to talk about what happened in Venice after the French Revolution and the fall of the Venetian Republic, and what happened, for example, to these famous theaters in Venice and the opera production system once the city of Venice as an independent state came to an end, and therefore all these social and cultural practices became part of a new, political message under French and Austrian occupation of the city. That will also give you an opportunity to see La Fenice Theater, which is one of the capitals of opera. And we will also do a backstage tour of the theater to see how a modern opera house is actually run today, as opposed to the way opera houses were run in Venice between the 17th and the 18th century, which was actually a rather extravagant, again, type of business. If we can have our next slide. We will also visit a museum that is particularly important for the topic of this course of this seminar. It's the Querini Stampaglia Museum, where we will see one of the most important collections of paintings that actually provide evidence of the theatrical life of the city at the time of Vivaldi, for example, in the 18th century. And as you can see, it's rather extravagant life. We will find out, for example, why in Venice people will wear masks in order to go to the theater. What is this idea about masking, which is typical of Venetian theater and opera in particular? The picture actually you see to the left of the screen is a particularly famous example of what at that time would actually be a gambling house. One of the other things Venice invented exactly the year after the opening of the first opera house was actually the creation of a public gambling house, and which you can actually partially see today. It's a hotel actually today. And the two things are not unrelated. You will find out why the opera business became somehow associated with gambling and other activities in Venice during the carnival season. And as you can see to the right, there are also rather extravagant constructions because of some of the theatrical performances that were famous at that time in Venice also took place in open air spaces, such as San Marco Square, for example. So you will see this museum will provide the main iconographical source in order to learn about the history of opera in Venice and its social practices. Next slide, Beatrice, thank you. Now, this is the Teatro San Cassiano, 1637. You cannot see it, doesn't exist anymore. But there is an important project today that is trying to rebuild the very first opera house in the world. And it's called, as you may imagine, the San Cassiano project. So what does it mean today to build a 1637 theater in order to reproduce the theater, the machinery, and everything the way it was done in 1637? And what do we learn through these processes? Well, we will have a chance to talk with the team. So at least a couple of members of the San Cassiano project team that they will present, this idea of reconstructing a Baroque theater, Baroque opera house, in order to turn it into a project to study the production system of opera in Venice in the 17th century. And last but not least, and I'm going to conclude here, we will also attend the performances, next slide, to the so-called Vivaldi Church. Vivaldi is probably the most famous Venetian musicians of the 18th century, but you could argue even before and after that time. This is actually the so-called Vivaldi Church, a church where Vivaldi worked for quite a few years. It was actually part of a charitable institution. Now, one of the most famous aspects of the musical life of this church is that the main attraction, the main musical attraction was an all-female ensemble. And when Venice became a tourist destination One of the main attractions for those who were visiting Venice explicitly to attend the musical performances was at this church where Vivaldi worked and where he wrote an extensive amount of music for a famous ensemble, and it was all women, all female ensemble. And we will try to understand why that was the case and what we learned about the Venetian society at that time by looking at this specific musical institution, which is also tied on some level to opera, because at the time Vivaldi was both the most important opera composer, but he also worked for this type of institutions where, again, some of his most famous music was composed. So I'm going to stop here. This was just to give an example of the kind of things we will be able to do in Venice. If you have questions, please let me know. Unfortunately, I cannot stay until the end of the meeting. But again, Laura and Beatrice, feel free to share my email with the students. If you have questions, please get in touch with me, and I will be more than happy to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Gerbino and Professor Alberto. I wish I could take these courses as well. But above all, you gave us an example of how a focus in Venice doesn't just allow you to explore all the different cultural practices of this city, but actually allows you to tackle also more general theoretical issues and themes. So we'll use Venice as a case study, but all the courses have also a wider breadth. And this can be said also about the Mediterranean and Humanities class. Unfortunately, Professor Zanu could not join us today, so I will say a couple of words. This course is taught by Costantina Zanu from the Italian department. It's section 2 of a year-long classes, but that is not a prerequisite. Anyone can take this class, even if you have not taken the first session on campus. And it counts toward the global core. It focuses on the Mediterranean both as a border and as a space of confluence. And the course is extremely interdisciplinary through history, sociology, cinema, and literature. It explores the different way in which the Mediterranean has been conceived, not just as a geographical site, but also and especially as a kind of conceptual space, and the ways in which it influences and shaped all the different cultures and religions that surround it. The focus of this session taught in Venice is on the more contemporary period, so it goes from the 19th century to nowadays, and therefore it will also allow to explore more contemporary issues such as the rise of nationalism and migration, for example. Like all the other classes, it has a big experiential learning component. It includes different sites visit and guest lectures in Venice, and also one-day trip in Trieste. If you have any question, Professor Zanu said to write to her and not to hesitate to ask any further information. Art in Venice, instead, is a course that completely focuses on Venice and on the art and all the works that this incredibly rich city provides. The focus spans more from the Middle Age until the late early modern era. It is taught by Professor Fassel, which is one of the world experts of Venice. She has been working, researching, and studies in the city for decades now. But I don't want to make her sound old, but she's really an expert. And she was one of the founders of this summer program, actually. This course is completely taught on site, so you will never be in a classroom. You will be traveling for every class to a different location or to a different museum or church, and you will explore all the hidden gems of the city and then choose to focus and research one of them for your final project. Italian language, instead, it is an intensive course. It's the only course that covers 4 credits. It has a bit kind of more longer sessions because you have to cover many hours, but you'll be able to do 2 semesters of Italian language requirements in just 6 weeks. And like all the other courses, it takes advantage of the fact of being in Venice, so you'll have the opportunity to practice Italian outside of the classroom in different contexts, markets, museums, conversation classes, and we'll talk later about some of the conversation activities that we'll offer. We also have Laura Di Nardo that, like me, taught the course a couple of summers ago, and so later she'll be able also to say something about that. We offer 2 levels, elementary and intermediate. As I said, they both cover elementary 1 and 2, intermediate 1 and 2. Laura, maybe you want to say something about course selection?
Thank you so much, Beatrice. For the recording later, just wanted to note again, my name is Laura Schiff. I'm one of the advisors in the Center for Undergraduate Global Engagement. And I'll talk a little bit later in the presentation about the application process, but I did want to note here that there will be a system by which you can request your course choices as part of the application. We will then review those course choices as part of the application review. We will ask you to list 3 different choices that are of interest to you. We do want to note that we unfortunately can't guarantee that everybody will get their first choice. We try our hardest to accommodate every student's requests, but we do have to keep some of the courses capped in size, just given the experience of the program and what it will be part of. You will get your course choices that were assigned to you as part of your admission to the program. So you'll be able to know as part of your decision making to attend, we hope you will, which courses you'll be enrolled in. And in some cases, we sometimes will employ a wait list for certain courses depending on the applicant pool. And again, I'll talk a little bit more later about the application process further, but just wanted to note that while we're talking about the academic aspect of the program.
Thank you. What else do we do besides taking classes? So studying abroad is actually an incredible opportunity to have a full immersion experience in a different culture and language. And we try to provide any possible way to make you experience Italian culture and Venetian culture at the best during these 6 weeks. Every week we have a group dinner that is also a way to touch base with all the other students and to create a Columbia community here in Venice. Every week we also host an aperitivo italiano or Italian conversation meeting that takes place in a different square each week. And during this hour and a half that we spend together, we'll practice Italian through games and different activities that our instructors prepare. And it is open, of course, to the students of the Italian classes, but also to the students that are not taking Italian. We will provide kind of a survival Italian session so that you'll have enough instruments to go around and shop or greet people in Italian, and you'll get the possibility to learn a few words and sentences. We organize also visits and city tours. One of the most loved one is our 2-day visit to Verona. You can see the picture on the corner, in which we have the possibility to attend an opera night at the famous Arena Theater. We also host conferences by scholars both from Columbia and from other Italian institutions. This year we will have, we'll give more details in the spring, but we're preparing 2 very exciting conferences, and also to students that participate. Some Italian tradition and once you're back to keep you busy to uh, side of the city during
Bea,
Beatrice. Oh, sorry.
you're breaking up, Bea. Maybe if you turn your screen off.
Bea, your video, it might be a little tricky with the internet connection. I don't know if you just heard Professor Albaro.
I think we need a closed caption on this.
Bea, I'm gonna meet you for a second, and maybe just give you a chat. Because unfortunately, it's just challenging to hear you with the internet. But I did want to just maybe add on to this part, while Bea is the expert at talking about all the wonderful cultural activities that the program
opportunity of
offers.
having with us Laura.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry. So
Her
I
microphone's up.
know. Sorry about that,
can you
Beatrice.
hear me
It's
now?
much better now. Yep, please. Sorry about
Okay.
that. Thank you so much.
No, sorry about that. The connection in Venice is not always easy, as you can imagine. Cable runs underwater. But maybe Laura, do you want to share the PowerPoint so that it's less
Yes.
on this side?
Yes, I will. Thank you so much. Yeah, and I'll do that right now. Thank you so much.
And just a few words of how life in Venice looks like. I moved here last April, and I can only say this was one of the best choices in my life. It's unique and incredible to live here. And being in Venice for 6 weeks, you will not be a tourist, but you will be a short, long-term resident, which really makes all the difference. And we know that Venice is a major tourist site, and we try to make your experience the less touristic as possible. We will be living in apartments that are scattered all around the city. And this will give you the opportunity to get to know each and every neighborhood of the city, but also to live as Italian and European students. In fact, as you might know, we don't have campuses in Italy. When we go to university, we have to find roommates and rent apartment. So you'll have the exact same experience of Italian students. And some of the apartment will rent are actually the one that Ca' Foscari, the University of Venice student, use during the year. We'll move around with the local ferry boat. So each of you will receive a monthly pass, and you'll be able to hop on and off the ferry boat and to go everywhere by it. Venice is also a city that requires lots of walking, so be prepared to have to do many miles a day and to wear comfy shoes daily. Living on your own in shared apartments means that you will also be responsible for the majority of your meals, which should not be something stressful because Venice offers a huge variety of food for all kind of prices. But so you should actually see that as an opportunity to explore the local cuisine, which is incredible, but also to shop at markets and all the small shops and supermarkets that the Venetian people use. We will host another section in the spring in which we will give more detailed information about the living and the daily life. Just be prepared to have a quite busy daily life, rich of classes, cultural and social activities, and all your own exploration of the city and the whereabouts. We're very lucky to have with us Laura Di Nardo today. She's a colleague of mine from the Italian department, and she is a returning student, staff, and instructor of the program. So she'll be able to tell you a little bit about her experience in Venice as an undergrad student first, if I'm correct, then as an Italian instructor, and last year as a program coordinator. Laura, I'll leave you the stage.
Hello. Thank you, Beatrice. You're right. So I was a student on the program in 2013, and then 2 years ago had the honor of being able to teach Italian on the Venice program, and then also was a coordinator last year. I can say as a student, I had an absolutely incredible experience. I think it's a testament to the fact that I continued to return even as a non-student and wanted to give that experience to others. I lived in an apartment. I still remember where that apartment is. I walk by it fondly every time I'm in Venice. But I think what Beatrice was really speaking to, all the different ways that the Columbia program crafts an experience for their students. I can say I received that very much as a student, and was happy to participate and give that to others as an instructor and as a coordinator. Some of my favorite memories are going to the different festivals that are in the campi, or the squares that are in Venice, and going to these group meals and going to Aperitivo Italiano, which is a favorite of everybody on the program. So I'm very happy to speak to either the student experience, or to, if you're interested in taking Italian, what that looks like, or to Beatrice's point, any of the excursions that happen. I was part of organizing a lot of those last year. So really, any sort of question you have, I'm happy to help answer it.
Thank you, Laura. Plus, your experience also shows how this program is an incredible academic and personal experience, but also can be can create a path and a continuation if you go into graduate school for continuing to come to Venice to also have working experiences and not just learning and studying experiences. Laura Schiff, maybe you want to talk a little bit about the application and costs? Thanks.
Yes, thank you so much. So on our website, which is updated for summer 2025, including course descriptions for all the courses that will be offered and biographies of our wonderful faculty who will be teaching. On our website, we do have a breakdown of costs. Currently, it does only reflect the 2024 costs. We will be updating those most likely by early January for 2025. We do not expect the cost to change dramatically for 2025, so you should feel free and welcome to review that information when thinking about the different cost breakdown. For most costs, including tuition, a deposit, and a set housing fee, you will pay that directly to Columbia via SSOL, which is familiar to our Columbia undergraduates and graduate students. Outside expenses other than those items, things like a flight to Venice, those are the responsibility of the student directly. We do put some estimated expenses on our website to help you plan, but just a note that obviously those vary greatly depending on your individual situation at home. Specifically related to financial aid. So for Columbia undergraduate students, if you receive financial aid during the academic year, you should connect with your financial aid advisor to see potentially if any aid can carry over to the summer. I do want to note, however, for CC and engineering students that none of your Columbia grant aid is able to count toward the summer costs, but there may be some other aspects of your package which you can talk about. If you're a non-Columbia students, this program has at times offered, we welcome applications from non-Columbia students. You feel free to check with your home institution on if any aid might be eligible from your home university toward this program. In addition to financial aid, there are some opportunities for outside scholarships that you can learn more about on our website. I specifically want to talk a little bit about the Global Learning Scholarship, which is available only for Columbia undergraduate students, but for students from engineering, Columbia College, and general studies. It's a scholarship which is hosted by many different funds, but is allocated and administered by the Center for Undergraduate Global Engagement. There's a separate application that you'll need to complete. It is a need-based award, so it does take mostly into consideration students' need. We work with the financial aid offices here at Columbia to determine student need and make those allocations. The scholarship does not traditionally fund an entire summer experience. The awards really vary depending on the individual student and their situation. But I would say, I really encourage students who are interested in applying for the scholarship to do so. we will allocate it. And so you'll know if you're awarded a scholarship along with the admissions decision to the program. So we make those decisions at the same time. I also do want to note that this applying for the scholarship has no effect on your admission to the program. They're reviewed by separate people. So please note that there's no harm in applying for the scholarship whatsoever in terms of your admission to the program. There are some other outside awards, including the Finley Fellowship for Venetian Studies. Information is available on our website about that as well. And then there's also some federal scholarship awards like the Benjamin Gilman Scholarship and the Fund for Educational Abroad, which you can learn more about on our website. For the next part of the application, so I did just want to note that in order to be eligible for the program, you must be a currently enrolled undergraduate or graduate student in good standing at your home university. We do have a 3.0 GPA requirement for this program, and also you must have a 3.0 this semester prior to going abroad. The application components include a personal statement and a letter of recommendation. There's also some other supplemental questionnaires on our website. It is a very straightforward application, though. I encourage students not to feel overwhelmed by the application components. We always just want to make sure that it's a wonderful fit for you and that you feel prepared about what the program entails. But you know, what I usually say about this program is that we really want to encourage any qualified candidate to come. We really try to make sure that we can have all qualified candidates join us in Venice, and we really look forward to reading your applications. And then for the final slide, a note that the application for the program will be Monday, March 3rd, 2025. If you are applying for the Global Learning Scholarship, that deadline is February 14th, 2025. And we do ask that you also complete a program application by the same deadline in order to be considered for both programs at the same time. We aim to allow admissions decisions by Monday, March 27th. I will ask for a little grace in that because it can depend a little bit on the volume of applications there are to review, but that is our target deadline. Sorry, March 17th. I put 27th, but that's actually the 17th that we'll aim to get admissions decisions out. Apologies about that. And then we will ask for students to confirm their participation in the program by around March 31st, because as Beatrice mentioned, we need to coordinate with our on-the-ground colleagues about housing placements, etc. Along with the confirmation, we will ask for a non-refundable deposit to begin making costs on your behalf for our on-the-ground partners. I have put my contact information below. I also am available for individual appointments, especially if you want to talk a little bit more specifically about understanding the financial aspects of the program and any scholarships that you can apply for. That's all available on our website. I did also launch the application. It is now live. So feel free to see the different components that are a part of it at any time and begin to apply. And yeah, we really look forward to reading your applications and thank you so much. Beatrice, I think I mentioned everything. Did I forget anything? I felt like I was speaking very quickly as well, which is my MO, but so.
No, I think you covered everything, but we have 5 minutes if someone has questions. Also for Professor Albero, since he was so kind to remain with us.
I'm happy to take any questions. I've taught in the program numerous times. So if you have any questions,
I'll look in the chat as well. And I just to the note about the courses. So in general, sorry, yep.
Sorry, Laura. So one of the questions is if the classes apply to an art history major minor, and they do.
Yep.
The course I'll be teaching, for instance, is a seminar, so that actually counts for an undergraduate seminar, of which you need 2 for the major and 1 for the minor. So there will be other classes taught in art history that will do the same, and with some of the other disciplines as well. It's a good way to knock off some of the requirements in some of the disciplines so that you can ease up your fall and spring semester course takings. I'm sorry to cut you off, Laura.
No.
People traditionally take 2 courses.
Yeah, you have to take 2 courses unless you take Italian, which being 4 credits can be taken alone and usually is 13 hours per week. So you can take just Italian or 2 courses. And how many people traditionally take a class. Those are all seminars. We try to cap them at 12, 15 students as we do on campus. Also to give you like a better experience when you go on site visits.
So how many people generally, I think what do we have there in the summertime for those 6 weeks? We have 30-ish, 30-ish
Yeah.
students. So your cohort will be 30. And remember, there are other programs there from other institutions. Then there is a kind of, you get to know people from other programs who happen to overlap with our program while we're there. So there is a camaraderie that's built from the study abroad experience.
Yeah, during the summer, there's our program, Harvard Summer School, and the Boston College.
All of the students do not live in the same place. Laura, can you talk to that?
Yeah, in terms of the housing for the program specifically, or yep. So as Beatrice mentioned, I think it was a little bit when she was cutting out. So we do arrange apartments for students on the program. They are usually throughout the city. And so they're not just one neighborhood, which many students report as being a benefit of being on the program, that you get to visit different parts of Venice. And I would also say parts of Venice that are not as trafficked by tourists. People who live in those neighborhoods are real Venetians who have lives and daily commutes like all the rest of us. So I think many students love that aspect of learning how to commute around Venice as well.
One thing to
Yeah.
keep in mind is that Venice is a very walkable city. You can see the whole city in just an hour and a bit walk. I mean, it's a wonderful walking city. There are no cars. So you don't have another option other than taking the Vaporetto boat bus. But it's a very doable, small, major city.
We used to say that it's like a big campus.
Yeah, true. All right. Anything else? Because I'm going to have to go to another meeting.
Yeah, and I can hang on for a little bit if there's individual questions. I'm going to stop the recording and I'll stop sharing my screen as well.